Has this ever happened to you? You give a man your time, your attention, your energy, and yet he pulls away. He loses interest. He starts to distance himself and treats you like you're just one of many. That frustration, it burns. The more effort you put in, the more he drifts away, and you're left feeling confused, powerless, invisible. Maybe you've tried everything. You've been the perfect girlfriend, the passionate lover, the endlessly understanding partner. You've given him second chances, third, even 10th. You've excused his coldness, reasoned away his indifference. You've transformed his smallest gestures into imagined grand moments of affection, and still nothing. He stays a frustrating mystery, always right at the edge of surrendering to you, but never actually falling. If this message stirred something quiet inside you, stay with us. Subscribe to the channel where silence speaks and the soul is never alone. Today, here on Mentalita Deodare, you're going to confront a brutal truth. A truth that doesn't just shift the way you view attraction. It shatters your entire framework for understanding men. That truth, the male ego, a delicate yet dominating force. It doesn't respond to kindness or desperation. It responds deeply and instinctively only to how you make him feel. When you understand which emotional strings to pluck, when you grasp the psychology that runs deeper than his words, you gain access to something powerful. You can flip the way he sees you entirely. You can make him crave you with a force that even catches him off guard. Make him think of you from dawn till dusk, and you do all of that without taking a single step toward him. No, this isn't about petty games or ego-boosting manipulation. This is about studying the male mind from a place of psychological strength and using that awareness with calm precision, with emotional clarity, like a woman who knows exactly who she is. A man's ego runs on a very different track than a woman's. While women often yearn to be admired for what they've accomplished, men, at their core, ache to be irreplaceable, to be the one you chose above all others. They crave selective attention, constant affirmation of their attractiveness and power, and yes, often control over the emotional current of the relationship. Beneath their confident exterior lives, a boy desperate for recognition. Each time you admire him, that boy inside is fed. Each time you act needy, his ego swells. And this is exactly where the game begins to unravel. He loses interest the moment you become predictable. The second he knows exactly how you'll react, he's no longer intrigued. But hidden within that very confidence of his is the Achilles heel. And this is where your true power lies. Here's the secret that few women realize, and even fewer dare to use. Interrupt the stream of validation he assumes you'll give him. Step back from the emotional buffet you've been serving on demand. Withdraw your admiration. Stop being his mirror. Take away the security he's come to expect from you. And suddenly, he's in the dark. In that vacuum, something awakens inside him. A hunger, an urgent pull to regain what he's lost. That feeling you once gave him, he'll do anything to get it back. And right there, in that subtle absence, is where obsession begins to spark. Each time you chase him after he's pulled away, each time you over-explain yourself, beg for a chance, try desperately to show him how much he means to you, you're not pulling him closer. You're feeding his ego. And here's the thing you must understand. An inflated ego doesn't love. It feeds. It dominates. It relishes in the high of your submission, but it never feels satisfied. It wants more and more, but respects you less and less. The more you degrade yourself to please him, the more disposable you become in his eyes. You have to dismantle that entire dynamic and create a new one, a dynamic where you are the unreachable treasure, where he's the one asking himself, do I still matter to her? Does she still care? Do I still have any power over her at all? So how do you turn that table? How do you shift from the one who chases to the one who's being pursued with 3 psychological weapons that cut deeper than words? Emotional scarcity, selective silence, strategic withdrawal. Contrary to what you've been taught, men don't obsess over safe, stable love offered on a silver plate. They fall for the storm, for the intensity, for the uncertainty. They crave the woman who sets their emotional world spinning. Think about it. How many times have you seen a man obsess over the woman who treats him coldly, while the one who would give him the world fades into the background? This isn't masochism, it's biology. To his primal brain, challenge equals value, effort equals worth. What's too easy to win feels empty. And that belief runs deeper than logic. I'm not talking about playing toxic games or stirring up drama for the sake of it. I'm talking about intentional, calculated unpredictability, a deliberate shift in emotional rhythm. Because if every time he pulls away, you meet that distance with more neediness, more explanations, more pleading, he won't be drawn to you. He'll simply take full control. But if the moment he turns cold, you walk away quietly, with grace, with an energy that says, I do not revolve around you. And you do this not with a tantrum, not with accusations, but with silence, with composure. Then something inside him breaks. A quiet but powerful inner crisis begins. And that, my dear, is exactly where the seeds of obsession take root. He begins to ask, what just happened? Did she stop caring? Has she already replaced me? His ego, once used to having the upper hand, spins into confusion. He no longer knows the rules, and he no longer knows how to win. It's as if you've silently rewritten the rules of the entire game, and now he no longer knows how to win. Every man, no matter how confident he appears, wants to feel deeply desired. That's an intrinsic need. But no man wants to feel certain that he has you fully and permanently, like you're already his possession. Here lies the paradox. The more secure you feel about having him, the less magnetism you hold in his eyes. And the more secure he feels about having you, the less effort he invests into the relationship. It becomes a vicious loop. And the only way to break out of it is to remember one thing. Power in relationships is never something you beg for. It's something you radiate. So how do you maintain this balance? Delicate, but full of explosive energy. By showing interest, but only in small, intentional doses. Yes, you can show that he fascinates you, but never, ever let it seem like you need him, or that he holds the center of your emotional universe. Cut contact the exact moment he expects more, right at the peak of a beautiful exchange, when the energy is flowing, when he believes you're hooked. That's when you end the conversation. That's when you hang up first, walk away first. You leave him suspended, wanting, wondering. That right there is a masterstroke, a strike against his ego and his silent thirst for control. You do not hand him the reins. You do not let him dictate the rhythm between you. You decide when you're present and when you withdraw. Picture this. He sends you one of those cryptic texts, vague, open-ended, probably meant to test your reaction. Most women, they answer with anxiety. They question. They plead for clarity. But the woman who holds real emotional power, she does something different. She pauses. She lets the message sit unanswered. Or she responds briefly, neutral, clear, and composed. No hint of neediness. No emotional bait taken. Not out of pride, but from a deep, calm strength. And that silence, that lack of reaction, it crumbles his entire strategy. He expected your insecurity. He hoped for a chase, but all he gets is stillness, a blank page, and suddenly he's unbalanced. Because now he's forced to face a truth he didn't expect. He no longer has power over your emotional world. Your silence, that carefully measured absence, becomes one of your most potent weapons. Want him obsessing over you? Then speak exactly when he doesn't expect it. And be silent when he's waiting on your response. Offer no explanations. Refuse to seek validation. Withhold when he tries to draw you in. Instead, step back. With grace. With dignity. With a kind of quiet that confuses him to his core. Silence wields a power that words could never hold. He's used to your presence, your voice, your availability. So when you vanish from that space, even just for a while, a deafening void takes your place, and that void begins to echo with his questions, his doubts, his inner panic. He fills it with scenarios, fears, what-ifs, and eventually obsession. The uncertainty you've created, not from his manipulation, but from your intentional restraint, throws off his entire emotional equilibrium. It disrupts his rhythm. It destabilizes the patterns he once used to control the connection. Suddenly, with one sting to his ego, he feels the threat that he could lose you, and he wouldn't even know why. That looming loss, ambiguous and unexplained, begins to unravel him. He can't stop thinking about you. And strangely, he starts wanting you with a hunger he didn't expect. A man can dismiss logic. He can ignore your declarations. But he cannot ignore the still, fierce power of a woman who moves with clarity and emotional command. A woman who doesn't bend to his mood swings, who doesn't scramble for his approval, who isn't defined by his reactions. Your energy must radiate unwavering self-mastery, not with noise, but with presence. A silent, undeniable energy rooted in your own purpose, your path, your evolution. When a woman carries herself with that quiet conviction, something primal ignites in a man. He senses he's in the presence of someone different. Someone untamable, someone whose power he cannot manipulate. Let this sink in. A man doesn't become obsessed with the one who gives him undying love without boundaries. He becomes addicted to the woman who is an emotional enigma, an elegant mystery, a prize that slips through his fingers if he stops trying. Each time you try to prove your value to him, each time you explain why you'd be the perfect partner, you lose leverage. You boost his ego. But your magnetism, it fades. It's like whispering, "Please see me." Even if you never say it out loud, he hears it in every eager response, every over-explained message, every anxious offering. But a man will never treasure what he's asked to appreciate. He only cherishes what he fears losing. Real respect, true admiration, deep desire. They don't come from pleading. They're born through scarcity, through absence, through intentional distance. Let him feel the difference between thinking he has you and realizing suddenly he doesn't. Let him witness your life moving on, not with bitterness but with brilliance. Let him see your joy doesn't pause for him, that your light grows brighter without his shadow in the way. And when that realization hits, It won't be through harsh words or cold revenge. It'll be through your calm, your silent transformation, your visible progress. No need to say it. You'll show it by rising in every area emotionally, mentally, socially, professionally. He'll hear about you. He'll see glimpses. He'll feel your glow without you saying a thing, not through arrogance, but through full, honest living. You won't need to post or brag, just by existing. As the new version of you, he'll feel the weight of losing what he once took for granted. Don't express it through accusations. Let your actions speak through undeniable change. Rise. Elevate every area of your life physically, emotionally, intellectually, socially, and professionally. Let him witness, or at least hear whispers, that you're going out with fascinating, high-quality people, not by bragging, but simply by fully, unapologetically living your life. Radiate such confidence and unshakable allure that he suddenly realizes out there, the world is full of possibilities, and you are no longer standing still, passively waiting for him to finally recognize your worth. Invest in yourself with the same intensity you'd pour into something sacred, as if you were your most precious project, because you are. Every single day you choose not to invest in your growth is a day you empower your past self. The version of you that once chased, once begged, once believed she wasn't enough. Your new self. She must be magnetic. So filled with purpose, brilliance, and natural energy that he can't help but feel it in his chest. Letting you go was the greatest mistake he ever made. When a man begins to feel compared, not through your words, but through your energy, because he senses that he is no longer your only option, no longer the center of your orbit, that's when something inside him begins to spiral. That's when desire ignites for what he no longer possesses. His pride, wounded and gasping, demands restoration, and the ego, which once feasted comfortably on your constant devotion, now alarms itself into high alert, and a male ego in crisis. It will do almost anything to regain its lost source of validation. Every relationship, even the wildest, eventually slips into routine, a choreography rehearsed too many times. He acts, you respond, he pulls back. You chase, the script becomes predictable, stale. Your job is to burn that script, to flip that rhythm entirely, boldly, without warning. He plays the aloof one. Let him. You don't respond with fear. You don't beg for reassurance. You stay still, rooted, focused on your own momentum. He sends you cryptic messages, tries to stir jealousy with vague cues. You respond with an elegance so detached it borders on offensive. Not because you're cruel, but because you simply do not care to engage with emotional crumbs. He tries to guilt trip you, plays on your empathy, uses emotional blackmail masked as vulnerability. You don't explain. You don't defend. You stay firm, unwavering. When he shows up, only when it suits him, you're no longer readily available. You're no longer a default setting in his world. And then something cracks. When you shatter the rhythm he once controlled, when you stop dancing to his music, he loses grip. Suddenly, without even trying, you've taken control of the rhythm. You set the tempo now. With your subtle absence, with your fierce serenity, as if you've secretly taken over the remote control of the emotional landscape between you. Now you are the one who decides when closeness is allowed, when distance is necessary, when peace returns, when the story pauses. This power shift disorients him, leaves him baffled, because he's no longer sure where he stands. And here's the magic. When you finally take full command of your emotions, when you stop chasing validation like it's oxygen, something alchemical begins to happen. He starts to feel, with a blend of frustration and bewildered admiration, that you are the only woman he cannot emotionally master. You don't bend. You don't bite the bait. You don't flinch. He's used to having women at his fingertips, used to calling the emotional shots. He knows how to manipulate, how to charm, how to win, but not with you, and that's what drives him mad. Because suddenly, he controls everyone, except you. That lack of control shakes him. It steals his inner peace. It gnaws at him in silence. That restless ache, that unresolved, emotional tension, it binds him to you in ways he never saw coming. You become the riddle he cannot solve, the melody he can't stop hearing, the thought that trails him into sleep and haunts him again when morning breaks. Not because you're dramatic, not because you create conflict or chaos, but because you are mysteriously calm, tactically absent, and wholly, deliberately indifferent. Always keep this in mind. A man can resist your most beautiful words. He can dismiss your most reasonable arguments, but he cannot escape the emotional void you create when you choose to disappear strategically. That silence, that precise, intentional withdrawal, it shakes him deeper than any explanation ever could. Don't lash out in anger. Don't shout your frustration into his silence. And above all, don't explain your shift. Doing so would mean betraying your own transformation. Simply vanish from his emotional radar. Strategically, completely, and pour yourself fully into your own growth. Live and breathe your evolution, as if your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it truly, deeply does. And in that sacred process of self-reclamation, something remarkable begins to unfold. You don't just become more attractive in his eyes. You begin to shine in the eyes of the entire world. Your sense of self-worth stops relying on his recognition. Your joy is no longer governed by his moods. Your value no longer rises or falls based on how much attention he decides to give. And if someday he returns, with real presence, with serious intent, you meet him again, but as someone transformed, stronger, more radiant, more emotionally unreachable than ever before. That combination, the grace of distance, the mystery of transformation, is what drives him into a silent, simmering obsession. He begins to crave you. He dreams of you, and he doesn't even understand why. Because now, you move from a completely different plane, a place of expanded awareness and untouchable power. And if he ever senses even faintly that he can no longer control you, that your reactions are no longer predictable, that he can never again be entirely sure of you, then something ancient wakes up in him, a deep, almost primal instinct to prove to you that he still matters, that maybe, just maybe, he never stopped. You begin to inhabit his thoughts, not as one of many, but as the woman he cannot replace. You become his silent obsession, a question he cannot answer, a mystery he cannot abandon. Even if he tries to forget, he can't. That, my dear, that is true power, not loud, not explosive, but rooted in complete internal mastery. The kind of power that belongs to a woman who has taken full command of her mind, and therefore, of the entire emotional dynamic. And now here it is, the most essential truth of all. When you reach this state of sovereignty, when you claim this level of emotional wisdom, it no longer matters whether he falls in love with you or falls apart without you, because you found something far greater. You've discovered your own indestructible power, your unshakable worth, and your ability to craft a life that aligns with your truth, not his presence, not his approval. One vital reminder: let it settle in your bones. You never have to force anything. You never need to beg for affection, for attention, for value. The real magic. The kind of magic that can't be faked lies in being emotionally desired, in being the woman who, with strategy and stillness, creates just enough distance for him to feel the potential loss, for him to sense the absence of your value. That space, that pause, is the very thing that triggers the longing in him. That's when he starts to reflect, to question himself, to ask what he did, to wonder if he still has a place in your world. And all of that begins to happen without you making a single obvious move. You haven't chased. You haven't asked. You haven't shown your hand. It's born entirely from his own mind, from the bruising of his ego. And that's what drives him deeper into obsession, into that endless craving for your validation, your presence, your light. So let me say it again, because you need to internalize this fully. This is not manipulation. It's clarity. It's awareness. It's the understanding of how the male ego, and more broadly, the human ego, actually functions. It's about stepping out of the old dance, the one fueled by neediness, submission, predictability, and stepping into something cleaner, stronger, healthier. This is applied psychology. It's the conscious decision to stop feeding unhealthy emotional loops, to stop reinforcing patterns that keep you small. You're not here to prove your worth, not over and over, not endlessly. He must be the one who feels the risk of loss. He must feel that, without respect, without investment, he could lose you completely. And when that moment hits, when his ego absorbs the blow of your silence, your poised withdrawal, your intentional scarcity, that's when the chase begins again. That's when he truly sees you and desires you with a fresh urgency, with eyes wide open. But by then you will already be elsewhere, on an entirely new level, a place of self-knowledge and unbreakable peace, where his obsession no longer defines you. Share this message with someone whose body, too, has gone silent, but hasn't yet understood why. Leave a comment to tell us how this resonated with you. And if you feel called to continue walking with us in this same depth, this same truth, subscribe to the channel.